in service of a Bridge Home initiative. She's worked alongside LAPD Reset in outreach and has engaged programs and events to bridge communities, resources, and encourage collaboration among networks, individuals like us, rooms like this, groups, agencies. Amara currently sits on the board of the Wayfarer Foundation, which is transforming the way communities see and respond to the needs of people who are experiencing homelessness. She's brought her guests with her, Melvin Jones, who's program coordinator for Wayfarer 1-to-1. And please give a warm welcome to Amara.
I'm very grateful to be here. I am newer to the community, so I'm really happy. Thank you. Perfect. I'm really happy for the work that Lake Avenue does, and I feel like you'll hear a string of connectedness because we work with all the organizations that have been mentioned, and we're really grateful to do so. Our role in the community is really to educate our members and to provide assistance and support for our local community through resources and always with hope and always with dignity. It's something that's really something that we value in how we deliver service. So I'm going to talk about a few areas that we focus on as we serve the community, and hopefully you'll glean something for your own communities. The first way is benevolence. So this is our contribution to homelessness prevention. We also provide rental assistance through benevolence, and as Rabbi Joshua so eloquently said, we are dealing with people who have jobs and are just short of paycheck to paycheck and are really trying to make it. So our role is to step into the gap and close the gap for people to stay housed so they don't become part of a different system. And practically how we do that is once a month we take a benevolence offering at church. And we're blessed to have a church that is larger and very generous, so we get to serve a lot of families. But I would encourage you that even if you have a small church, that's still taking that benevolence offering, even if you are just serving the members of your community, it goes a very long way to help the community in support of keeping people housed. There are so many times we have an application process, and one of the questions we ask is, what community are you a part of? Do you have a faith community? Who's surrounding you? Who's supporting you? And I've oftentimes reached out to churches who may not know that this person is experiencing what they're experiencing in hopes of making a connection so that they will have the support that they need. In addition to that, when we find that someone comes to us for assistance, it's an opportunity for us for a little bit more than that. So it's a time for us as a congregational and non-denominational church. We open up scripture with people. It's our time to walk with them and to provide or guide them towards spiritual guidance. So at the end of the day, we want to lay a foundation that Lake Avenue is not your source, God is. And we want to establish that foundation in them. So it's a time for us to connect to community that way. When we find that someone is in an extended hardship, we also have a care deacon program. And I'll say a little bit more about that later. The other area that we focus on is we host a community meal every second, third, and fourth Sunday of the month. And this community meal, we've had it for at least two decades. It has become known in the community as a place of respite and refuge for our community members, for our neighbors, our guests. And it's really important, the language that we use around it. I always tell people it is a community meal. We are together with our friends and neighbors. We even serve restaurant style to remind us of the value that each human being that walks in through our doors has to us, and that we are in service to them. So we really use it as a time to get to know what the needs are. It has served as our greatest tool in understanding what people need. So it's also been a fun place for me to experiment with those needs and invite some of our partners in to do certain things. So again, practically, we have dinner at 5 o'clock, but we invite guests up at 3:30. So that window from 3:30 to 5 is for us to do all sorts of things. We've played music, we've hosted open mics, we have shown movies, and then more recently, as I have conversations with the community, we have introduced things like inviting Wesley Healthcare Center to bring their mobile unit to do wound care and to do health care on site for people. We've connected with Azusa Pacific to have their nursing students come and do wound care on a regular basis. We're working with people to come out and do mobile showers. We have worked recently with Union Station. They came out to do CES intakes because I was finding that people weren't getting into the slots during the week. So I said, well, maybe I can invite them to come on a Sunday. And I've been so grateful to see our partners step up and come in on a Sunday when they don't have to do that. But it's just a testament to the community and what we can do together if we just push that extra mile. The other way that we serve is through partnerships. So if it's not benevolence and it's not the community meal, then we rely on our partners. We rely on our partners to continue to meet needs. So I call Friends Indeed at least once a week. We work on care plans together to serve the community. I call Door of Hope every week. They have a coaching program that partners with us. When we provide assistance for someone, then they will go the extra mile to walk with that person to make sure that they remain housed, to address any sort of budget and financial needs that they have. So we really lean on our partnerships to help serve our community. I've even reached out to Apple One, businesses like Apple One, to help us provide job support for those that we think that are just job insecure. They may be working a place that is not going to be sustainable for the housing that they're living in. So we work with staffing agencies. So we get really creative with our connections in the community about how do we serve the people who are in front of us. And so one of the ways, like if your church is not really equipped or your community of faith is not really equipped to host one of these programs, then the one thing that we know does work is a one-to-one personal relationship. So I mentioned we have care deacons early on. Our care deacons, for us, our care deacons are servants of the church who use their gifts to walk alongside people in times of need. And they walk with them until the need is no more. And that time is some of the most rewarding and fruitful and frustrating, beautiful time that there is. And that's honest, right? When you're walking with another human being, no matter who they are, it gets challenging. But there is no group of people that I know who are better suited to do that than communities of faith, because that's what we do all day long. And that's what I'm finding is a gap that is needed. The systems aren't always easy. The getting through things, we find people just need encouragement. People just need someone in their corner rooting for them, telling them that I'll walk with you through this thing, right? They just need that. And so I brought up a special guest because there is an organization that I think is doing this tremendously, and I believe that communities of faith can learn from this one-to-one relationship, because it is a way for those who are asking, like, how can I help? You know, I may not have the resources to do X, Y, and Z, but I as a human being can step in, or I know people who can step in, and I can walk alongside someone through this system, making sure that they get out on the other end, not only stronger, and not only more successful, but stronger. So I'm going to invite up Melvin Jones, the program director for a one-to-one program with Wayfair, and he can share with you more about the impact of personal relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Amara. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I'm from the South, so please indulge me. I'm accustomed when I'm in a house of faith that I acknowledge the leaders of that house of faith and reverend. And thank you very much for welcoming me to spend time. And as Martin mentioned, I am the program coordinator for the Wayfair One-to-One program. We are a nonprofit that bridges and connects the community along with individuals from different housing statuses. We started off focusing on people that are unhoused, and then it became for people with any type of issues or challenges that they may have. and to be available for that. And being that I'm from a community of recovery, I am accustomed to also qualifying why I'm even standing up here speaking to you. and basically, I am qualified because I arrived in the greater Los Angeles area 14 years ago with 71 cents in my pocket. I had completed a prison term, and I was extremely addicted, and I suffered from many mental health challenges from my abuse as a child, and I was a mess. I was completely broken when I came downtown LA to Skid Row on a Greyhound bus, 2,008 miles from where I was born in Memphis. And that experience and that struggle informs me, and it is my qualifier, and it's my graduate school. It reminds me that I looked like a tornado had came and ripped off the entire structure, and the only thing that was left was my foundation. And the only foundation that you could not see at the time was my faith. And my faith was always there, as broken and as terrible and as much. So houses and communities of faith are so instrumental to me being able to even stand here. If you houses of faith believe that there are miracles, and we've read about them and they're written. I am that miracle that's standing before you, and I am that individual that maybe you may have looked and say, well, he's drug addicted, or he's crazy, or he stinks on the train when he gets on the train, or he looks terrible. Look at when was the last time he shaved? When was the last time he took a bath? And I am that individual. And I am so fortunate and so grateful that I have been called to work with individuals who are currently experiencing those things today. And our program at Wayfair 1-to-1 basically started as a social experiment where we decided, hey, let's just become friends. And the founder of our foundation, I was chronically unhoused for 7 years on the streets. I stayed 3 years on the sidewalks without a tent, looking at the U.S. Bank building every night from a street on Skid Row. And I remember even the night that I looked up to my God and told him, okay, this is where I'm going to die. I've given up on this. I guess this is going to the way to be. I'm going to continue to be addicted. I'm going to continue, and I will die on this sidewalk. I guess God has a really great sense of humor as well, because I can imagine that he probably ordered maybe a legion of angels to start working on my behalf. And those angels were people, basically the community. It was the individual who drove and passed out a peanut butter sandwich, or the individual who gave me some water when I was thirsty, or that person who told me, hey, it's going to be okay, or the individual, I don't know their names, but a lot of those faces I still see through my work now as a program coordinator. A lot of them I call them sometimes because I need resources from Friend Indeed. I need resources from you. I need to know someone who recognizes the model of harm reduction for people that can't abstain completely from the very beginning. And we have attempted to develop a personal relationship with and bridge the community with these individuals to say, hey, we don't have all the answers, and we don't have the housing, and just being on a waiting list for housing for 3 or 4 years is not going to cut it. We can't get from 3 years now. Let's just worry about today. Let's just get through today the best way we can. And my job and my role and my call as a program coordinator is working, using my lived experience, bridging this together, and just getting through the day. And we have been amazed at what happens. When we talk about homeless, the first thing, that word, I don't normally even use that word. I use unsheltered or unhoused. Homeless is such as you stated, it's such an end point. You're saying so much. Yes, there's no one homeless, actually. There is a home for everyone that's living on this earth. Perhaps we haven't built it yet. Perhaps we haven't figured out how to pay for it yet. Perhaps we have other challenges that are more important right now, but that we all have a home and we all have an opportunity to dream, but perhaps we just need a little help. And as a peer specialist and a peer professional and as the coordinator of this program, I encourage people to share whatever they have. You don't have to have a lot of quality. You don't have to have graduated. You don't have to have a master's to help someone on the street to get from Monday to Tuesday. And what we have seen and the results that we have seen are amazing. We started out working with women at the Downtown Women's Center in LA, and these women had lived in a shelter for over a year or more. And now we have people that have now been housed all over our greater city. One just was happily even moved to Las Vegas to her 2-bedroom apartment. And simple things like share my number with the individual and allow them to call. My phone rings every member and every volunteer in my program, and currently I'm working about 40 individuals. That may not seem like a big number, but those 40 will be multiplied. I believe in multiplication. Our faith teaches me that if he's done it for one, that he will do it for another. And I really believe in that. So even though the zero says 40, I look at that 40 maybe 80, and maybe that 80 may become 200 or 300 and maybe a million, or maybe we won't have this issue. We can go on to something else. Maybe we can focus on some other things and making our communities the thriving communities that Pasadena is, and that downtown LA on Skid Row can look like Colorado Boulevard, and have businesses that are thriving and people with mixed social economic status can live there together in harmony and in peace. And so that we are so fortunate, and I don't have the time to give the details, and it's really not really much. I'm really wearing the solution to this issue that we're talking about. I'm not really a marketer, but the 4 letters right here, if we focused on that, just loving someone, I mean really, really loving, I can help you go to a 12-step meeting. In fact, tomorrow I will be going down to a 12-step meeting with someone. I can help you navigate through that complicated housing process. Some of those people that we started navigating through because of my lived experience and things I'm continuing to learn are now being housed. People are now selecting which apartment to move in. People have the vouchers that they were looking for. People are now going to work. One young lady I met 3 months ago, she is now being employed by LA County as a receptionist. Young woman I woke up this morning to be downtown for this young woman who hadn't worked in 10 years to go and nail an interview this morning. When I walked in, and because I'm a supporter, I don't always show up and you don't always see me, but I'm very, very close to the people that I support. I'm so close to them that the moment that she finished her interview, I was already talking to the employer, and he was like, Melvin, she's the best person I have ever seen in my life. And she's that individual that you probably thought, even with her past history with addiction, that you may have thought that she would never, ever have this opportunity. And I am so grateful that you allow me to just give you a snippet of what we do. I wrote some things down and just I never get to that kind of stuff. I never get to this, but I hope you can get a snippet and realize that houses of faith should be and are. Lake Avenue has always fed me for the number of years when I was hungry. Even though I started off in Skid Row, didn't mean that I didn't come to LA, even before, even to Pasadena to eat. It's really hard to find somewhere to eat on Sundays at 5 p.m. Most churches have already had their services and gone home and having dinner at home. I'm so grateful that there are other churches that will reach out on those times, and I draw from all different agencies and different churches and different houses of faith. I draw I have no problem with going to the Catholic charities or to the Council of Jewish or any organization or denomination for help, because we all are responsible. We all have this charge. We all can really make the selection. And again, I'm wearing the solution. Love. If it wasn't for love, I would not be standing here. Thank you.
Thank you, Melvin. Thank you. I don't know about you, family, but I'm on full. My heart is just full, you know. I have some strange beliefs. I believe there's angels walking the earth in human form. I believe that I've been touched by angels, you know. Some of them right here in Pasadena, you know. Like I said, you know, Friends Indeed, the Grandview Foundation, the people in those rooms, you know, who told me that, you know, I could have a better life. You know? And I thought about, when you were talking about, you know, the word homeless, right? I thought about, when I was a kid, you know, there was a great migration of African Americans from the South coming up to Chicago. And, you know, my auntie was from Memphis. Probably could tell by my accent, right? And my cousins, when they came to Chicago to work in the steel mill, to go work, you know, at the stockyards, my auntie would say, baby, you can make you a pallet and sleep on the floor. Or you can go in there Michael's room and sleep with him. So my cousins that came up from the South, they came and they lived with us. You know, they weren't homeless. There was no such thing as homelessness, you know. So everybody has a home. We're just creating that space together. I'm so proud of that. So when I talk about angels, you know, it's people that inspire me. I call him a friend. Cody Love Rainbow. You know, that's my friend, you know. So many years ago, Cody introduced me to these folks I'm about to introduce to you. You probably already know them. Everybody knows them. But if you don't, I'm going to read you the introductory notes that I have here. So, I'm going to start with Dr. Jill Shook, the Executive Director of the Greater Pasadena Affordable Housing Group. She served as a campus minister with Mission Doors and with Food for the Hungry International, coordinating teams from Berkeley and Harvard to serve in developing nations, doing sustainable community development with and by the people. In 1991, she moved from Mexico to Pasadena to learn from Dr. John Perkins. And then she later worked collaboratively to plant a Spanish-speaking church, an after-school program, and a citywide gang prevention program, and a gun buyback. Imagine that. So after listening to the poorest and most marginalized population, she was then led to become an advocate for affordable housing as a tool to help break the cycle of generational poverty. She's founder of the North Fair Oaks Empowerment Initiative. She's also the author of Making Housing Happen, faith-based affordable housing models. If you don't have it, Amazon it tonight. You'll have it tomorrow. So she's a professor of housing justice in the APU Master's Social Work Department and does housing justice workshops around the U.S. Jill happens to be married to Anthony Manassas, who is a Quaker peace activist sitting right here in this room. He's a retired college professor and an author who led American Friends service groups on service projects to Mexico. He edited the official publication of Quakers in the Western USA for 11 years. Also been published in Pasadena Star News. I've seen some of his editorials. If you haven't, just Google him. So in 2011, he married Jill Shook. Can you imagine that? Two movers and shakers, you know, getting together in love, right? And he became the co-founder of Making Housing and Community Happen. So in 2018, he helped lead the successful campaign to convince the city council to approve homeless housing at the Heritage Square South. And I was standing on the street on Marengo. We were with the sign about the Julia Morgan YWCA, right? Yeah. And then after that, they would go to the city council meeting and let them know really what time it was. So he's currently chairing the Greater Pasadena Affordable Housing Group, Homeless Housing Committee, whose goal is to convince the city to build enough homeless housing to reduce the homeless count by 50% in the next 5 years. We can do that. Anthony also serves on the board of directors for several organizations, including the Friends Committee for National Legislation, Interfaith Communities for Justice and Peace. He's edited and written 7 books, the most recent being Transformative Quakers. So he's earned a PhD in English literature from Rutgers, a BA from Boston University, and taught at numerous colleges and universities. Please help me welcome Anthony Manosos and Dr. Jill Shook. Come on down.
I think I'll let Jill be last. So we always save the best for last, right? And I want to say how grateful I am to see all of you here. I want to thank our mayor, who's been a leader in affordable and homeless housing in our city, and all of you have shared from your hearts what you've been doing, and I just feel very honored to be here. And I want to say that our goal is not just to end homelessness in our city, it's also to build what Dr. King called the beloved community. And that's what we're doing, isn't it? We're building the beloved community. So I want to start with some good news. We hear a lot of bad news about our homeless crisis. The good news is the city of Riverside has had functional zero veteran homelessness since 2016. Wow. The homeless population of Riverside County has decreased by over 50% in the last 15 years. And here in our city of Pasadena, we have reduced homelessness by 54% since 2011. Wow. All right, that's good news. And the numbers continue to go down. Pasadena is on track to reduce its homeless count even further. In the past year, our city council has approved over 130 units of homeless housing. 130 units of homeless housing. 65 units at the Salvation Army site and 69 senior housing units at Heritage Square South in northwest Pasadena. And as has been mentioned, we're urging the City Council to approve a proposal that would provide an additional 96 units of affordable family housing and supportive housing in our Civic Center on a vacant lot next to City Hall. Our chronically homeless count could be reduced by as much as 50% in the next 3 years when these units finally become available. We know what ends homelessness. Rusty Bailey, the mayor of Riverside, has identified the problem and the solution. He says you can't end homelessness without housing. Becoming homeless is a vicious cycle our neighbors without homes end up in, and the sooner we can take them out of the cycle, the better. The sooner we can place them into housing, the better. But homeless housing just doesn't happen. There are no laws requiring affordable or homeless housing. It takes concerned citizens like us to convince city governments to do the right thing and use city-owned land for affordable and homeless housing. It takes advocacy to convince our elected officials to adopt policies that will prevent homelessness. And it takes